I'm Dr. Miranda, Prop Doc Mom on the
Okay.
socials. I am the co-host and founder of Property Magicians podcast, the only podcast I know of in South Africa that's hosted by two Black women talking real property investing conversations. And our podcast was focused on people of color because we are told about money differently, whether wabatla or how badly. We are spoken to about money differently. And Vangile and I founded the podcast at the end of 2019, and we decided we are going to make property investing into Zulu and Siswati and Setswana. That was our intention, and we wrote it in our intention diaries that way, that when we speak to Black people, you need to speak to and speak money, you need to speak differently. There is something that's hidden about money that Black people are not spoken to about. And I am the co-founder and owner of Property Magicians Stockfell as well. And our mentor, incidentally, was Lindile when we started our property Stockfell. And the Stockfell is thriving and going through its own challenges. And I'm glad to have the people that I lead in the Stockfell.
But I mean, it's not just all challenges, Dr. Miranda. Please tell the people that you were nominated as a finalist for the Absa Stockfell Awards. Hello.
So you can imagine the surprise of being on at the APSA. APSA had an inaugural Stockfell event because, believe it or not, Faisal, I found out that there are 11 million people out of the 63 million in South Africa that are in Stockfells, and there is 50 billion rand circulating in those Stockfells. The banks want us here, guys. The banks want us here because we've been able to Stockfell everything. So we were nominated, Property Magician Stockfell was nominated for the Best Enablers category. They are probably going to extend them. And even the one that won, guys, it was, what is January?
Yeah, Jen Riches.
Gen Riches. Gen Riches is young women. Their Stockfell is they collect money. Got January, they all have bulk money for paying the fees and buying the fees. So they don't have January. None
They've
of
got Jen
that.
Riches.
They've got Gen Riches. That's how. I am so glad. I am so glad they won. I am so glad we got nominated. And I think what's a big for me is we said we are going to enable, and we started with we are going to enable Black women because, my God, we are scared of money. We speak differently about money as well. You are bolder than we are. So sometimes when we speak about money amongst ourselves, we speak differently. You know, you guys, it's easy for you to just start speaking millions and we're going to do, and we even before you touch it, and this deal and that deal. Rona re start ka, "Hai ke na le bonyane fela," you know, that's how we start. But men don't speak like that.
they
They
don't.
start here. They start even when they know
Nothing.
squat. But we don't. You know, we are collectors of information, and we siyafugama, ne? We sit on the eggs a little bit and the few eggs and whatever. So when we started, we said it's about Black women of color, because we start differently. Yeah?
Yeah.
And the nominee.
All right. So my journey, I would say, into property and Stockfell specifically, right? I think our background matters because how we are raised determines how we turn out in life, right? So I grew up in a home where my mom was involved in not one but many Stockfells, and actually research from Old Mutual did actually indicate that the average South African family belongs to at least two Stockfells.
Stockfell.
And they contribute at least 1,000 rand to Stockfells. So you can imagine that's why those numbers are not as surprising. So my mom was like that as well. My mom was a school teacher, so she did these where they collect money and they distribute it. She did the funeral ones, she did the soap ones, they did the December ones, all kinds of things. But what she used to do with her Stockfell payouts is that she would then go and, buy building materials. And at some point, she was able to build Amapek rooms at home. And, that was the money that, obviously you can never have enough and you've got a family to support. So that money, bridged the gap. It helped us to stay afloat. And so much so that even when she eventually passed away, that income, was able to sustain us as a family while we waited for her estate to be wrapped up. So I think for me, having seen that, it from an early age registered that this is something that I will need to do for my children because yes, I may work and be a professional, but at some point, I will pass away. What do I then leave for my children should that happen, right? So for me, there was the gift that she gave us in that sense. Sure. So that's when I realized the true power of what Stockfels can do, even the day she passed away, because there were so many. I literally had, I didn't even know where to put envelopes of money because people just come. Your mom was in the principal Stockfell. Here's the money. Oh, the one you're starting. Here's the money. No, this other one, yeah, the union. Here's the money. I didn't even. I literally was running out of pockets because she was in all these kind of different Stockfells, and they would just come and give money and give money and give money. So there was just it wasn't much about the money, but also the community, and you realize that how the Stockfells create a sense of community. It's not just about the money; it's also that sense of community, right? So that was for me was the thing, right? And then so my property journey then started with me buying a property very early on. At the age of 23, I bought my first property after renting for a bit. And then I was like, when interest rates started going crazy, like they've been doing the past couple of months or a year or two, and I was like, but why am I struggling to pay the bond when I've got, because I bought a 2-bedroom. Why am I struggling to pay when I've got a unit that's sitting there, not doing anything,
Room.
Another room, because I bought a 2-bedroom. So I was like, and actually a room. That was my exposure as a child. I was like, room, there's space, you rent it, you make money. So that's when I rented that room out to someone else, and then obviously the income that came from that then enabled me to survive those high interest rates. And nowadays I call it house hacking or whatever, but in a business that's what we called it. But anyway, so that was my journey then into actually, because I did it like the proper way, because I was not doing it like how my mom did it, where you just get a random person off the streets. I actually went onto Property 24, I created a listing, I screened the person, I interviewed them because I was going to live with them, checked their payslip, can they afford to rent? So I started like, I was like, okay, actually this thing can work. And that's how I then started my property journey. And then by, investing intentionally. But I soon realized that I could only access so much money. The banks, they look at affordability, you can only afford so much, and then they stop giving you money because now you can't afford anymore. But I was like, there has to be more. There has to be a way that how are other people, buying these big pieces of land, buying these building, doing these big buildings, like where do they get the money from? And especially for us as Black people, where we don't have access to old money. All our money, we're first generation, if not second generation, our families who go to university and start working. So where we're gonna get the money from? And I think it was with that together that the idea of actually starting a property Stockfell started. And again, it's like just how do we actually collaborate? And because when I went on this journey, I invested a lot in my property education and knowledge. There was no seminar or event that was happening where I was not involved. There was no network I didn't belong to. I signed up for property mentorship programs. I was watching podcasts, interviews, reading books. I invested a lot. And I think to Miranda's point around us as women, before we do anything, we spend years before you are sure that you can do this. Someone else will just say, I'm gonna build a multi-million rand property Stockfell, and then off they go, and everybody believes them.
Yeah.
And they know nothing, like nothing. So for me to be able to say, I think I can, it had been 2 years of, research and studying, and now can you just start small and think, let's just see, Yeah. And I think success has grown in leaps and bounds since then. Our portfolio at the moment, in terms of the money we've raised, and our total assets are over 25 million rand. So it really has been an amazing journey. So yeah.
Yeah. 25 million. That is so incredible. I like the story of the rooms at Lindile's mom's house and how on the day of funeral, there already was cash because they had tenants. And it took another year for her estate to be wound up.
Longer.
But the kid longer, ne? Longer, but the kids had monthly payment from the tenants. So it brings me to my mom's 2 room and garage started because we had construction trauma. My mother had a contractor and she had just gotten divorced, started building a house, contractor ran away with the money. So she backtracked, built 2 rooms and a garage. We were tired of living with relatives. We came and lived in the 2 room and garage. So literally, the Orlando house, Keke, me and Mama Tumi and Mama, we tiled it. We tiled that house. We would paint on weekends. We would paint the door frames and the window frames and whatever. But our back rooms, Tsakohai, literally everybody that's lived there has lived for more than 5 years. The longest was 9.5 years. Singato. There was always a tenant, and with the tenant, and my mom's rental has never gone up, Slee. For years. For years and years. For years. But I was always the child that handles money, right? So the money of the rental would come. My sister was at University of Zululand, Kongoye, and Mama would divide it. Ekia to me, so after school you are going to pass by Standard Bank and put in money for her pocket money, and then pass by Black Chain and do the groceries, and then ya coupon, and then pass by this other shop where she used to buy wool because she used to make student jerseys and whatever, learners jerseys. So what are we saying to you where you are? I didn't even know that Mama was doing property investing. But that money literally took us to university, guys. That money was our pocket money, and Mama would say, don't worry, I get only 600. When I went to Medunsa, I had 45 rands in the pocket because one lady had told my mother that all you need is 5 rand, your student card, and 40 rand, your registration. That's how we registered in 1987. And while I was on the queue, Komedunsa, that's how, and while I was on the queue, Komedunsa, I don't know how they get our results, but we are on the queue. Remember, go that floor. We are sitting there for the whole day. You must go here and there and there. And then they called out names, the 5 top students. And that's how I got my first bursary while I was on the queue.
Wow.
Yeah. So guys, the power of small property, big property mustn't scare you, and wherever you are, just start. Right? Just start. So my journey is a journey of, some people may share it here. And then, I was the clever child, only one number one. It's such a curse and a blessing, guys, to be number one, Koskolong, because Miranda must just become a doctor. I wanted to do computer science. No, you must just be a doctor. But I was already doctoring my dolls at home. So it came easy to go to medical school. And I was a doctor really before I was even 10 years old. So I went to medical school. And the hope was that, I don't know about the other doctors in the room. I see some of my colleagues here. Was there no promise kana hore o tlo ba doctor bo ba rich? I
missed
thought
the memo.
it just no, it just follows. It just follows. It's supposed to follow, right? It's supposed to follow. And when I met Slee, I'm just fast forwarding the journey. So when I met Slee and she says, no, even us as accountant, it was like that. And then we started sharing notes about how the banks sell us the first check account and the first credit card. And when you find the first check card and the credit card, but no one tells you how you're going to pay it back. And us at Medunsa, we had the big blue bank come to our university. They gave us our 6th year party. You know, when you're finishing 6th year, everybody's entertaining you because they are selling you products. And the other big blue insurance company was selling us. No, they didn't sell us. They gave us insurance for free, yeah? Disability cover and death cover. Everyone tells you about their defense products. They don't tell you about investing. That's why our fathers and mothers have got death cover here, Stockfell funerary, another death cover over another death cover. Am I speaking to something that you understand?
Amen.
Yeah. There is an aunt of mine who was a teacher for many years. She says she's got the funeral cover till 8. My kids are going to be fine. Funeral cover is not investing, guys.
Yeah.
Can we get out of that already? Ne? Funeral cover A1 is enough. The one that covered the bond is enough, right? So that's the products that they sell us. So we would have these Sunday lunches with Slee and a couple of friends, and we would have a potluck. So you bring a dish, and we would talk property investing, and we would talk money. We would play the cash flow game. That's how we met, and we formed that whatever. And you'll find that the problem that you're sitting with, she's already solved. Or the boys in the room. Boys are bold, guys. Men are bold. That's why we marry them. Don't be scared of them. Men are bold. Men make bold moves before they get the information. Yours is to get the information and follow. Ne? So I really like the fact that we are complementary in that way. We wouldn't do it. Right?
Yeah, I think I just wanted to add to your story about the what they did for the doctors. For us, if I can tell you that I was a student and I signed up for the Blue Bank, I think it was the prestige package. I had a credit card and a checkbook before I'd even finished university.
Prestige.
Yeah,
was
yeah,
it?
yeah.
Tina, it was
Prestige
called
banking.
Achiever Plan
Something
in
like
my
that.
time.
Something like that.
In
Something
my
like that.
time.
I can't remember the exact
Checkbook.
name, but I had a checkbook as a student.
Yes.
I had a
As a
checkbook
student?
As a student. I had a checkbook.
Finally,
I had a checkbook.
no, remember we had honorarium, Rona guys. So when you are a student, medical student, got 6th year, we earn 200 rands. It's called honorarium. It's an honorary for coming into the profession, right? We get 200 bucks. I know I had a Truworths account, but I didn't have a check card.
Me, I had a checkbook.
No. Me, I was already at Daniel Hester, guys. Yo,
Me, I could shop at any shop because I had a credit card and a checkbook.
Uzokubhadala ngani?
Me, student. Entrapment started before I even got my first job.
So when I was a housemaid, I did my house job at what is called Helen Joseph. It was JG Stratham Hospital there, telling my age. So we had a breakfast run that was run by VW and Audi. Girl, us, Sunday morning, we get picked up at Northcliffe. And we are driving down Malibongwe. It used to be called what as well? JG Stratham as well? No, whatever it was called. No, it was Hans Stratham. Hans Stratham. We are going to Hartepies, girl. Yeah, okay. So there are a line of cars. So there was the A6 Audi, Tektronic Haikena. Aibo, eh? There is VR6 here. There is GTI Golf 2 big bumper here. There was no City Golf. No City Golf. No way. And then there was the A4 when it came. So, and then we drive down, and then we stop at the chicken pie farm, and then we drive down, and we are on Hartepies, we are on the dam, breakfast. By the time we come back, the boys have bought the GTIs. Yeah. Right? Give February, guys. Housemanship started in January. My first check of housemanship, 1,281 rand. How are you going to pay for a GTI? How are you going to pay for a GTI? So when I say they talk to us about money as Black people differently, they are kids, they teach them investing. We are so dead. and no one tells you how you're going to get out of it. They just know you're going to work hard, enslavement. So, hence, you have this conversation with us.
Yeah, and I think just to add to your point around the debt, we are not taught as well about how to use
Leverage debt.
correctly.
Yeah.
We are in trap because imagine you're a young person, you're earning 1,200 and something, and you're already buying a GTI. You are already, forget about wealth building, forget it. You are out of the race. And remember as well, maybe you are the first person in your family to graduate. You've got your siblings to look after, your mom to look after. How are you going to cope? So the only way you are going to add on to
Service
your,
anything.
like basically survive is through credit. You're going to take on more and more and more credit to stay afloat. And so that is how we then get entrapped. And also because you want to keep up with the Joneses, or because you're a doctor or whatever profession that you are in, you believe that living in a certain neighborhood or a certain house is beneath you. So now all of a sudden you're going to have to look the part. You have to look the part. You have to live in a particular suburb. You have to have the best house, the best car. Your children must go to the best school. You must wear labels head to toe. When is the wealth building going to start? And then you're 60.
And then you are 60. And then you are 60. Which brings me to
It's never too late.
it's not too late, Zakes. That's why we're having this conversation. So what are the mistakes we've seen? We've told you about the mistakes. At least I know the mistakes. I was fortunate that the tenant that lived at my mom's house, who today has become a relative almost, she taught me about the trap of credit cards. And she was like, Mizo, I was with a credit card. You're not having a credit card. This is how we're going to play this game. And that's how I started saving. Tenant at my mom's house became a big sister, right? So, Mina, I bought a used City Golf.
Wow.
Yeah. But my partner at the time bought a GTI, of course. I love boys. Boys are very bold.
They're brave, ne?
Yo, men are brave, guys. Men are brave. I mean, I think it is perfect that we are different in that way. So, do you want to talk about the mistakes of property investment, or do you want to talk about?
I think let's talk generally about what some of the mistakes that we've seen people make, especially when wanting to invest. I think you guys would have heard this, or like a light bulb comes onto your mind, and you're like, yeah, actually, I think I want to invest in property. You know, maybe you've been working a couple of years, and you look back, you look at your balance sheet or your net worth statement, and you're like, ish, but it's in the red. I'm owing more than I'm owning.
Oh, yeah.
You know, so like, how do I fix that? Do you even do that? Do you even do that check to say, where am I? How many assets do I have? How much are my investments? How much is my properties worth versus how much I owe? And how is it balancing? So maybe let's say that realization comes to you and you say, I need to fix this. I need to do something about it. And then you're on Facebook or Instagram or wherever, and you see some webinar coming up, and you want to go and start investing in property. So what tends to happen is that, as Dr. Miranda was saying, Guti, the information that is sometimes shared at these seminars, it's either because they want to sell certain structures, especially trusts, especially these guys who sell trusts.
Oh.
They're not your friends. I'm not going to mention people, but they're not your friends, because then they sell you need 3 trusts. You need a business trust, a family trust, a property trust, a what trust. And now you set up these things, you don't even have a single asset
To put in the trust.
to put in the trust. Now you must pay for the setup costs of these trusts. Now you must pay for the independent trustee. Now you need to pay for the accounting fees, because you need to account for all of them. And you don't even have, now your salary is going into these entities
Servicing a trust.
that are not working for you. And then the other thing is that they sell you these properties, mostly new developments, and they say investment property, hey, it's in a growing area, blah, blah, blah. And then they say you estimate it's going to grow by X, then people buy. And then when you find that you're buying a property that doesn't provide cash flow, meaning that once all the expenses are paid, you've got something left, which is essentially when you're a property investor, you're running a business, you're an investor, you want to make a return. So why do you invest in something that doesn't make any money for you?
But no one has spoken that
and nobody-
English of
nobody
investing
does.
to us.
It's
They
very
tell
high
us
level.
appreciation. I don't know what that is, but I made the mistake, right? So I bought the Montana unit with the idea of appreciation. By the time I looked back, it was like, hi, Bo, it's year 3. This thing is going to give me 430. And I've been financing this property 430.
You were lucky after 3 years, you even getting it for 13.
Now I was going to school, guys. School is 80,000 and like 430 kya o etsang? Huh? 430, she eats it, ka ile ko movie. So why did that happen? It happened because firstly, the person who had a seminar, like we are having a breakfast chat like this, is an attorney. He's a conveyancer, but he is a co-owner of a development, and the developments are all over the place. Let's not call
No names mentioned.
Let's not call it, but you know them, the big ones. So, and they sell their units like that. They call you to this meeting and they are already selling you the mean and they show you projections. And you know, when you speak the word of projections, imali funeka namhlanje, guys. The money is needed today. She's going to school. I want to buy her a gift. I want to travel today. They listen to your objectives and they're like, what do black people know about travel? What are they going to do? Huh? They might just sit here and slave away, right? So they sell you these units. So remember that. So when they call you to seminars, the trust, how much did you pay this year? I paid 4,000 something for a trust because the accounting fee has to have to be done every year. So trusts are expensive. Are they the best vehicle to?
Not necessarily. In fact, in most cases, not.
Yeah. You know why? On the trust, there's yourself, there's trustee 1, trustee 2, trustee 3 maybe, right? When I want to buy Naledi Farm today, I must wait. Trustee 1 is coming. Trustee 2 is overseas. Trustee 3, nje, go bulky, you are not traveling light, yeah? Go bulky, you are holding this thing, and then you have to maintain a trust. On the same breath, when you've got a child who is underage, and you die, the family can go and sell off the properties because akona trust and hey, we need money today and blah 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 blah, and they sell assets without knowledge, right?
Yeah.
So trust is a preservation, it is a protection, yeah. So sometimes that's the mistake. We don't know what we don't know.
Yeah.
And then therefore, and the registration of trust makes you feel like you are making forward movement.
At least I've got a trust.
Am I talking to someone who said this before? Ubona karwetsa something.
Yeah.
If you are going to build wealth, you had better have a trust. I make the money first, guys. Make the money first. Just make the money, right?
Absolutely.
Okay. Can you see why Africans need to have an African solution? And then the ones that come from areas where your fathers owned land, can you see why there was a homestead? The homestead is not a bad idea, guys. It was and it makes you generous. And Slee, that's the reason I chose Naledi Farm. We said, let's have a conversation in December. How do we just close the year without talking about property investing? We like talking about property investing, guys. Forgive us. That's all we talk about. We don't have a fashion sense. That's why we talk about it. That's why we talk about it. So Naledi Farm is owned by this couple. The room you're sitting in is their dining room. The room that you are waiting in is a dining room as well. This door closes you off from their family house. But this has become a conference center. This is where weddings happen, 50th birthday, whatever, celebration. I had my team here for team building and strategy session. and we have lunches here, and there was a jazz on the ground there. A month ago, we were here for yoga, yoga on the grounds, because there's something about what you've just said, Lindy. I hadn't even thought I would talk about this. There's something about being African. They just knew that land needs to be owned.
Yeah.
Africans are rebanaba mobu. Like we are children of the soil. Land needs to be owned. And when you own it, and when you own land, you become generous. They are generous with the space. They are generous. Today you're going to have a wholesome lunch. And Mina, I'm fortunate that I'm vegetarian. I eat everything that comes out of their ground into the pot, onto the table. That's it, right? So that's why the battle that we have. And town really confuses the African sense, right? It really confuses us. Town confuses us because they contain us in these little boxes, but you pay for security, pay for gardening, pay for. Ne? Yeah, so.
Yeah, and I also just wanted to add that there's a reason why it was legislated that black people could not own land. It was against the law.
But against the law.
It was against the law for us to own land. And in the land that they found us in, they didn't bring land with the boat.
So Figine is wearing a t-shirt. Magina would have said, you are the no.
Very appropriate.
Yo, guys, it's hard, right?
It's hard.
No.
So the reason why we were intentionally deprived of owning land is because of its wealth creation properties, right? If you don't own anything, how are you going to have a chance of creating wealth? Right? So now they also now take us away from productive land, which is the farms. You know, they move us out of that, and then they move us into the cities to come and work in the mines. And even in the cities, they put us far away from economic opportunities. They put us in the townships, not in the suburbs and within the economic opportunities. So it is by design that as a black person, you are not supposed to have wealth. You are not supposed to have economic opportunities. But at the same time, guys, this is the opportunity. So where we are now, those laws are no longer there.
So what's preventing us?
What's preventing us?
Gigo, what's the problem? Knowledge.
Why are we not owning the land? Why are we not creating wealth? What's stopping us? It's no longer legislated.
Fear as well. But can you see that it's even trauma, Jay?
Yeah, it's trauma.
That doesn't even make sense at the back, ne? Because if you put the land with the knowledge and then support, you're on your way. Sometimes you don't even need money yet.
Research from Lightstone last year revealed that the average first-time home buyer is 32 years old. So by that 32 years old is when most people are buying their first homes. And normally people start working from around 22, 23, 24. So you're waiting a good 8 years before you are able to buy. But chances are you are renting, you're wearing clothes, you're driving a car. So why are we delaying buying properties? Because ultimately, once you buy that first property, it becomes a snowball. Because Miranda, I'm sure you might have made maybe not a cash flow, but that first one enabled you to say, maybe when I do it next time, I won't do this. It's a snowball effect. Even if it says, if maybe you bought it, maybe it doesn't, and then maybe you break even or you make a bit of money, you then use that to buy the next one. You divest from certain property classes that don't make sense, and then you roll it over. The knowledge snowballs, the courage snowballs. That fear you're talking about, because you're like, okay, I've already signed an OTP, I've gone through the transfer process, I didn't die. Let me do it again.
I didn't die. No, but he is so, Faisal, the fear is real. And then, unless you make the mistake as well, and it's better to make it quicker.
Yeah.
It's like a pig,
Yeah.
Get the finish, it's like a mistake. So one of the mentees that I had when I started property mentorship in 2019, she was in the middle of getting divorced and whatever, and she was like, anyway, this crap of staying in Centurion, young Dina. And she used to call it that. She's an accountant, and she had twins, beautiful little children who were 5 at the time. And the husband was refusing for them to sell. She wanted to sell, wara wara. And the big two things for her was that, I didn't realize my mother brought us up on property. She comes from Mahweli Ring. Mommy had matrene, abitswang Peter, the Malayan, and her mom in her sishweshwe dress, she would go knocking on each door like this. Hey, itwang, langkolota, and collect her money. And both she and her brother are here. They went to Wits, but they would borrow money from mommy because she was always cash flush. And I can EFT. She is like this, in the pocket. So when that realization happened, she took the mentorship. So I used to do a one-on-one mentorship. So when she got divorced, and when I taught her where to look for properties, Property, I got property 24 fella, guys. It's not. It's so not, right? And when you are in this community here, somebody, is it Zakes who sent us already, there is business on the WhatsApp. There is business. There are 20 students who need accommodation. Do you have a 20-bed accommodation in Pretoria? Here, somebody, nobody, Ballo. Zakes create 20-bed students, January to December. Guaranteed, 4,500 each student. You do the math, here, on the WhatsApp today. Anyway, so this lady, as they are getting divorced, eventually husband agrees, okay, I'll buy you out. Me, I want to stay in my house. Okay, cool. So he buys her out. And then I said, don't buy quickly. It's okay to rent, because it's okay to rent when you have a plan.
Yeah.
And she went and rented. The kids are finishing this year at this crash and whatever. And she looked around. In that same Centurion, guys, Naledi plots. She ends up with a 4-bedroom, just like the Naledi house, 4-bedroomed house, but it's got 2 cottages. And for some reason, I don't know how it's placed, but there's a gate here and there's a gate there. So she ended up with 2 units and a 1 unit, and then she built another 2 units. So she's got tenants, and they come in through that gate. Now she says she has demarcated. She sends me texts whenever she's done something exciting. She's demarcated there, and then now she uses the other entrance so that she doesn't see the tenants. But do you know the tenants, they even have gardens and vegetable gardens. They talk to her over the fence. Do you want some basil and coriander? Oh, I've got a lot here. And she's got some old African woman who lives on her in that property. And the house is big. She's got twins. Sure, there's 3 of them in the house. Her main bedroom apparently is right at the end of the house. So she's also shut that out from the main house. And it's got a sliding door that opens to the other side. 4. To your point, Lindy, maybe sometimes the house is not a curse. 2 units, added 1 main bedroom, because in an ensuite bathroom, they did a little kitchenette. It becomes a unit.
Yeah.
For tenants. So sometimes don't beat yourself up, and it's on a huge plot. It is something like 1.8 hectares, and she intends doing some more units. And she didn't have to zone anything, because you can build sometimes on a municipality.
And I think
land.
just to jump on that, Miranda, anything that we sometimes fail to appreciate is when we think of property investing, we think it's something that's far out there. And sometimes you just need to look within. Like, what is it that is within you? What do you have? Because sometimes you might think, oh, I need a lot of money. Okay, fine, you don't have a lot of money. What do you have?
Oh, what do you have? Oh, what do you have? Oh, me, I don't have a lot of money, guys. But you know what I have now? I have knowledge.
Yes, you have knowledge. Maybe you have time. Maybe you are a young person and you're still flexible. You don't have 3 children like myself. So what can you give? What can you give in terms of your time?
Yeah.
So can you partner with somebody who's a busy professional, and when you do the running around, you manage just 20 students? Can you not trade off that way?
Yeah.
Maybe you've got a bad credit record. So what does that mean for you? Is that the end? There are many ways that you can do a rent to rent, for an example, where you rent from a landlord and then you sublet to someone else. You can do this with Airbnb. You can even do it with student accommodation. You can go and rent a building from a landlord, and then when you run student accommodation, where maybe in a normal, maybe the landlord can charge you 10, 15,000 rent. When are you renting it at a per room basis and you're putting 2 students per room, all of a sudden you're making 30, 35,000 rent on the very same property that the landlord was happy to receive 15,000. So you don't always you have to look within. And sometimes maybe you've got a property that you bought when maybe a couple of years ago, and it's since grown in value. And now you go into what we call a refinance, and you take some of that money out and you use it as a deposit or towards some of the acquisition costs.
You excite me. I had forgotten about that.
you know, so always look at what is it that I have.
Yeah.
And then whatever you don't have, how do I get it, or how do I partner with someone who's got it? And I'll make an example with Takisizo for an example. Miranda said I must tell you guys a story.
Yo.
So we've recently this week concluded a purchase of a student accommodation that's in Martindale, right? It's a 53-bed student accommodation. We got it for 3.6 million rand. We bought it last year. We've been paying it in installments. We bought it around July last year. So under 18 months, paid off in cash. And that property was valued by ABSA for 10.3 million, which means we have just printed 6 million rand worth of equity. Which means what we can do now is we can now go to any of the banks and say, here's a property that we own, here's a title deed, give us the full value of the property for 10 million rand, and now we can take that money and go and buy a bigger building.
A bigger building, yeah, 40 million.
Yeah, 40 million
And
or whatever.
For me, what's amazing about Sakisizo, I joined Sakisizo at inception. Sakisizo is almost 6 years now, right? Yeah. And some people contribute 1,000, 1,000, 1,000, 1,000, 1,000, 1,000. That's all you have? Sure. And then Miranda has got 10,000 sometimes, get 10,000 here, 10,000 there. Because then when the deal comes, your money is already there, it participates. While you are sorting out the bad debt and while you are sorting out, even in 2020, COVID, we could still contribute so you understand. So for me, it is start where you are, don't wait and don't look at me and say, oh, Dr. Yes, my pay slip is higher than yours, but necessarily, guys, my expenses may be higher than yours because we don't buy wisely.
Yeah.
We really don't buy wisely. Ask Ballo, our friends, every 4 years.
That
When
way.
the dealer phones and says, and your car, Dr. Melata, your car is almost 5 years. We've got the fabulous A3, and it just suits you. Most female doctors like this one. Haven't they called you
pressure.
fix? Ooh, shame. Yo, me at VW, straight on Park One, they know me. Like, all my VWs came from there. So please, the debt trap mustn't trap you into getting further trapped. You can do something about it.
And I like what you mentioned about the payslip. Guys, don't sleep on the power of a payslip.
Your payslip.
Don't sleep on the power of the payslip. So the two things that are going to get you on the fast track in terms of wealth creation, A is using the right structure. So get the right structure. Do not buy properties in your own name if you want to be an investor.
Thank you.
That's the first thing. Second thing, payslip. Third thing, credit score. You've got those 3 things, you are on the fast track to millionaire status.
Totally. I want to talk about the power of the township property.
Which one? Talk. Tell us. The student accommodation.
No, you got your mom who's got a paid up house and your granny and she passes on. Hannah bought gated and she left you the house. You're sitting on money.
Family house. So stop fighting and go.
Family house. Can you stop fighting over it? It's good when you are an only child, né? It's easier. So Why is it money when it is an unbonded house? It's money. So there's something called Lightstone. Our mentees learned about the Lightstone, and we'll tell you the funny story about Lightstone. So Lightstone is a software that geomaps every property in South Africa. So you can go on there and go and look at number 423 Orlando East, my mom's house. It will tell you exactly who owns it, how much it was bought for, if it's got a bond or not,
How much that bond was?
and how much the bond was the last time it was bought. The fancy houses, they were bought at 199,000 and you guys buy them at 4.5 million. You can see them. But what you see with the other side, it's always written, it's owned by T1005, what, it's owned by a trust. Because when they've got assets that they can put into a trust, that one, they are still written by the name. Anyway, it can tell you the square meterage of the house, it can tell you, and then it gives you a value of the other houses in that street that have just been sold recently. So in Orlando, where my mom lives, in that street, some houses are getting sold at 600,000, 790,000, 800,000, depending whether they've got rooms and whatever. You are sitting on 800,000 that day. You go into ABSA and you're like, I want 600,000. They're like, sure. Sure.
And let
You
me also
sign.
add on to that as well. Not only can you get the 800,000, which you should then be using if you guys have a family house, instead of squabbling amongst each other, to actually use that to create wealth for the family.
For the family.
That can be generational.
Yeah.
What you can also do is there is companies like, for example, Umastandi, right? Which is very intentional about
Black
township development.
entrepreneurs.
So they are, so normally the challenge with, especially when you get into commercial
Mastandi
is the company.
Mastandi.
So some of the challenges is that, especially once you get into the commercial or development, is that they usually require a higher deposit, unlike home loans, for example. So you might have to put down a 10 or 20% deposit. So if you wanted, for example, to build 16 rooms or 16 bachelor flats, you will need to put down 20% of the total of the, for example, the land price and the building price. So now that obviously is going to take a lot of people out of the race. But if you've got a paid off house in the township, you can now go and use that land and that title deed in lieu of having to put down a 20% deposit. So now you can go and build 16 units in your mom's land, and especially if nobody lives there anymore, because we all know some of us move out of the townships. Now you're renting it out, and sometimes maybe you're not maximizing the potential of that property. So now you take that structure down, you build 16 units, 20 units, however you can fit into that piece of land. And you don't even have to put a cent down, because by having the title deed, that's your equity contribution. The bank gives you the rest of the money, Umastandi gives you the rest of the money. There you go.
And the reason why this kind of conversation you will not have go Centurion, go Pretoria East, ne? At that other mentorship, is because do they have a township property? No. And would they let you know that you've got access to property like to money like that? Why would they? It's not in their best interest. You must come and buy from them. When you must always feel poor, right? You must always be begging for their money when you are sitting on money. 800,000 of a property township, what would it do? A 3.5 million property. Only 10% here already. Ne? You've got 300,000. You can buy the same property that Sakisizwe has bought. And 800,000, you can build, Umastandi, right? Let's just extend Umastandi some more. So Umastandi is comes from TUHF, TUHF. It's a trust of urban housing finance, yeah, TUHF. So in TUHF invests in areas that the big four don't go to, the big four banks don't go to. So they see the potential of inner city development, so they give you money. But TUHF has got little baby funds as well. Umastandi is for townships, but they've chosen some townships. So way to Mamelodi, Mansiville, Tembisa Fosloras. I've forgotten the other one. Anyway, so Umastandi goes to townships only. What's nice is even my 80-year-old mom registered the company. Yeah? Register a company, PTY Limited, XYZ PTY Limited. They only borrow to companies, not to individuals. So she can borrow money from Umastandi. She puts down the 10%. She builds 5 bachelor units in her yard. How they count, how she's going to pay. They're like, "Ke pensioner," or the retiring teachers. How is she going to pay it? They let them pay from future rental. That's what they call it, future rental. They're like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 units rented at 4,000. 4,000 times 6 is 24,000. Rona, we require you to pay 6,000 or 10,000 every month. You are left with 16,000. You can sort out the electricity and whatever. That's how it is done. They don't require her to have credit score, what. The account is new, inally zero, it has never traded. No one is gonna ask you about those things. That's the other thing when we talk about fear. All the real estate agents, they tell you, no, your company, has it ever traded? Oh, the bank will never give you anything. It's not true. You can open 6 accounts, yeah? Miranda here, Mizo here, Mutlalipule here, Moloto here, whatever. And I buy property 1 here, property 2 here, you can. Now, here's the funny thing about what happens when you have mentees on the program. We were not going to talk about our mentorship, but what's funny is, oh, I'm signing an OTP, and then they feel like this, they're a bit dizzy. They're like, should I write this or should I sign on every page or should I initial? It's fun. But that's exactly what happens with knowledge. Nah? And so the mentorships, the mistakes we were talking about is, I went to probably 4 mentorships and networks, Zesapin, before I actually invested. I still made a mistake. And I paid 24,000 here. I just remember this last one was 90,000.
Yeah.
90. And those mentorship programs don't make you take the first step and the next step and the how and the detail of how and why does it make money. They talk ROI, NOI, refer to go medical school. It wasn't there. So don't tell me about ROI, NOI. Tell me where the money is, how I'm going to make money, how I'm going to pay this thing, and then yeah. But my surprise was when I met Slee. I'm like, Njani Slee, when I went to accounting, debit, credit, what, ini dia balance. Bo balance ini, izinto zase-absa kuphela.
As I said earlier, that sometimes knowing and doing are 2 different things.
Yeah.
Sometimes we know what we should be doing,
Yeah.
and we still don't do it.
Yeah.
And I think sometimes, and I think that's what we've been saying here, is that sometimes you need an accountability person to say, okay, take the first step. Okay, have you done the first step?
Yeah.
How far are you with that? Because sometimes we've got so many things that are on the go that we just can go, and years can go by since you did that mentorship 5 years ago.
Absolutely.
Thank you.
And I think it's not just equity, it is accept that type of debt is good debt and it's fine to get into that type of debt. And that type of debt is flexible, it's not like the debt here go at gas, where you can't do anything about, right? You can borrow from the borrower of the same debt many, many times, right? So it's very important because when we talk about debt, it's another one that's fear invoking. It is which debt are we getting into? There's debt and there's debt. Yeah. So the other one you can leave it. And when you are not ready or it's not enough, you're like, it's only 230,000 equity that's in this property for now. Okay. They are doing at Sakisizo, they're doing a Martindale a student accommodation. Invest the 200,000, sit tight. Somebody else is doing something else. The money needs to work for you. The money can sit in the bank. And when you don't know, while you are collecting information, let the money work.
Yeah.
Ne? The money needs to gym, ne? Makujime imali
release
yakho.
money.
Cancel the Virgin Active if you are not going.
Why does it feel personal?
Netflix. Okay, I'm sorry, guys. Yo, December is here, and the first thing we are thinking about is which most expensive bottle we're buying. That is now. You speak about what you like about at our mentorship. What he's talking about is in the 6 weeks of our mentorship. The first mentorship, you were probably sitting there like, huh? We thought we came to a property mentorship. And we start with the mindset. We start with the mindset. We start with, have you got the notebook? We started with the dreams, because you've got to have the dream written down. You know, when you don't see it, when you don't see it, you don't know it, you'll never see it, you'll never know it, you'll never go to, it doesn't even make sense to you. It really, really doesn't make sense. And in your dreaming, you've got to dream something that your parents have never dreamt, or your grandmother has never dreamt, and your great-grandmother, because if you don't do that, right, now you've come to Naledi Farm. I'm telling you about a family that they've got 3 children. They started with this farm. They came from Centurion. The lady of the house removed grass one day while she was pregnant, and she was like, we don't eat grass in this house. She planted spinach. The neighbor, Dani, next door, Tamrin, says, we don't do that here. The next thing you will be planting maize. And she was like, it's in my yard. It's in my yard. What's bothering you? It's in my... Don't come here with those ways. There shall be no maize here. And she got tired. They bought Naledi Farm when the baby was born, Naledi. So for me, it is write the dream down and know where you are going for. I don't think I was looking to farm or look for a farm. All I know is just, I don't want the same problems that my mother has. I do not want Neo to have the problems that I have of, we need to give mama a monthly stipend I want it to come from somewhere else, and not because I don't love her, not because I don't want to help her, but I think she could do better with, there's a property there, right? So and the one that I like, that I know, is property. Bad debt, it's sitting there. 2020 hits, I'm a consultant, there's no money, but I go to Bara, I work in COVID and whatever. But because my salary is divided into certain portions, we spend here, we pay for the bond, we pay medical aid, this much goes to investing, this much goes to saving. We still continued and invested in easy properties. And I even taught her. Yeah, so lit 300, guys, lit 300. So don't sit there and feel disadvantaged by not having 100,000. There's nothing disadvantaged. You can own a piece of the black bricks in Sentin, or black bricks, Yako Cape Town does better, and whatever. So you can do that. So there's nothing that stops you. This journey is wide and open. And what I like about property, it is agnostic. It's age agnostic.
Yeah.
It's agnostic of black or white. It's agnostic of levels, whatever these levels we talk about and whatever. I tell all the mentees to go and listen to episode 25. Here, Ribua English, we understand each other. Go and listen to Property Magicians, episode 25. Property Magicians podcast, episode 25. There is Josephine. Josephine makes 400,000 from one property per month. 400,000 rents fix. Rents. Josephine didn't finish high school, but she's got a student accommodation that makes her 400,000 And I'm just saying, it was the most humbling podcast that I've ever done. Peter, who sits there, was in my podcast. It's nice to speak English. My Josephine was sitting like this. Pressa mo Miranda. We're not in school. Pressa. Ribuele man, ribuele vangile. Hello, vangile. Oroko guy, where are you? In Sri Lanka. Oh my God, my dear, I've never been there. But me, I make 400,000 wena.
Yes.
She was like that. And, we kept testing the sound. Now we are sitting side by side. No, I can't see you. Should we do it in video and whatever? And she told us this long, long story. Property is agnostic. Your grandmother can start today. You can start today. Your husband can start today. The little children can start today. Yeah.
When I started on my property journey and I read about, obviously, the financial freedom it can afford you, etc., that was what was appealing to me. I was like, I really want to be able to live the life that I want to live while I'm still young enough and be able to enjoy it. And I remember how my mom passed away before she went on pension. She was so looking forward to pension and she never made it to pension. And so I was like, I don't want that to happen to me. I don't want to wait either until I go on pension and then I'm too old to enjoy it. You know how our parents, then they get their pension money, that's when they start, they buy the car of their dreams, they renovate their houses. By then they're too old to even travel or do anything else. And so I didn't want that for myself. And I set my intention in 2018, and I said, I want, by the time I turn 40, to have retired and to stop working. And yeah, so basically, my birthday was in April this year. It didn't happen because I was waiting for a few things to happen. But end of September, I was able to, set myself free. So it didn't happen overnight. Like I'm saying, when I started my property journey, I was like, this is the vehicle that's going to enable me to achieve that. So obviously, getting the wheels in motion, getting the knowledge, getting the properties, making sure that obviously the income that is generated can be able to sustain. Yeah.
Absolutely. It is so sweet. There is a mentee. I told you about another mentee of mine has done exactly that. She was going to retire at 40, but she turned 46 this year. Last year it didn't happen, but she wasn't getting frustrated, 46. And when she took my mentorship, it was 2020. This is 2025. She's done better than me. Ne? She's 46 and she's retired. But I'll tell you, she has combined, because that's the other thing, she's combined strategies. But she was able to combine strategies because she had to start somewhere. She stayed with student accommodation, and mom's house. Mom's house became the student accommodation. She lives in Pretoria, so University of Pretoria kids are renting, and they grew up in Silverton. Silverton. And then she's bought another student accommodation. Now she's got the Airbnb in Cape Town. Airbnb in Cape Town. She worked for a bank. This other year, when the bank gave them their bonus letters, she was like, Mizo, Sheba bonus letter, amen. Like, look at this. She sends it. Did they pay you bonuses in January?
March.
But it comes out earlier, ne? February or something.
The letters.
The letters come earlier. And she's like, the bonus they are paying me is the money I made between December the 16th to January the 15th.
Let me tell you, in my example, right? For me, I looked at my pension statement and I was like, this is my pension. And then I looked at how much rental income I'd got for student accommodation. For a year, almost the same. So
guys, so for me, it is exactly that when you dream it, you must do it and then it must come. No? I told you about, or the mentees know about that one, that the property that is next to Ellis Park, because it brought the rental of 9,300, or at least I would take home 9,000 after paying the bonds and whatever. I was able to say month 1, month 2, month 3, or 27,000 buys the flight tickets done. month 4, 5, and 6 buys the tickets to Disneyland. Month 7 and 8, because you are able to plan that way. And the salary does something else, right? The salary has got other commitments, school fees, wara, ne. So it happens in property, but it's not gonna happen ka apartment yako Centurion where you get 400 or you have to tlaleletsa to pay City of Tshwane and whatever. That's not investing. Salary, money is made first day in property. Otherwise, sit on the money, sit on your hands like this and get the knowledge. Do the structures, guys. Do the structures. Don't buy in your personal name. 2, have a strategy. Have a strategy. You can't just buy somewhere. No, remember, Peter, we started with just buying property. Property makes money. And then we started buying. No, that's not how you do it. Get the strategy right. There are more than 10 strategies, and all of them work until you know what needs to be done. Yeah, so these networks, guys, this community or similar communities are here for exactly the reason that when I'm telling you that on the WhatsApp, someone shared that there are 20 students that are going to need accommodation and whatever. I probably have no interest, Pretoria. I haven't seen anything. Slee is at home running the business and running the operations of the mentorship. She probably has got the time to look up what's happening in Pretoria. Which area in Pretoria? What does it mean? There's somebody in here who knows something. Do I know Middleburg? I know Middleburg because we pass it when we are getting into Bumalanga and whatever, right? And Faisal is there and he sees these things, and there are old people that used to own this house and that house and whatever, and they're going for a song. You don't need property 24 sometimes. The Faisal on the other side of Middleburg. Northwest in Nakiti. The children in Northwest, guys. My mentees in Northwest, the properties they buy. Northwest has got 4-hectare property, 350,000. Like how? Like how, right? But how am I going to know it when I'm sitting in Johannesburg? It's this thing, it's even how we converse. Rona, we converse to brag, or we converse with fear, we converse with withholding, we converse with utomfita. There's no ways. I had never come across a community like the community we had until I met Slee, where it is excitement. Sunday, Miranda, we are coming. I don't have time. I'll bring ice cream. Okay, sharp. And we eat whatever is there, guys. Bread and wors. And the kids have ice cream. And you know what I saw? Somebody said this thing is, and you calculate, that's how you get to know the English of refinance. You get to know the English of power team. And your accountant, your usual vanilla accountant, will not know property investing and why it is beneficial. There's a reason why we said invest in property in a company. Property has got tax efficiency because you can spend the rental money as it comes in, 20,000, you spend it on certain things. There are tax exemptions. You can end up with zero tax that you pay. Zero. They teach them at accounting school, but they forget it, or it doesn't make sense because, well, your mental is me, I'm doing whatever, and your vision is limited. So power team, the right accountant, the right attorney, so there's lots. Marriage is a wealth hack, by the way. Marriage is a wealth hack when you've come across a partner like that. And when your focus is the same, it is like, let's not waste it, because they could have blown they could blow it. So into your equity, let's say you didn't sell the property, but you were going to buy the next property. We would have gone on Lightstone, Sabona. Now these other houses around you are getting sold for R1 million. Okay. Do we want to keep it or do we want to sell it? Why didn't it work out, by the way, Nozi? Or the area was
you got up just in time. Good move.
So can
Good
you see
move.
selling sometimes is okay, right?
Yeah.
You sell, you sold at the right time. Yeah, so into equity, let's say it wasn't going to be sold. So you've got an asset that's paid for, you've built it, our OWE bank. That means you've got R1 million rent in there. When you go into F&B, you say, I want to refinance this house. They are going to bring an assessor, or they use the same Lightstone that we use. All of us use
Yeah, they
Lightstone.
do.
They look on Lightstone and they're like, oh, it's not bonded with anyone. Do you know that it's worth 1.1 million? How much do you want? You can either borrow the whole 1.1 million rent, or you can borrow 800,000, or you can borrow 600,000, and ungaphinda ubuye futhi. Now they're going to register it's called refinancing. You sign mortgage papers. So they open a mortgage and they offer you an interest rate, and you're like, no, I don't like this interest. You go to ABSA. You're like, and don't be married to the banks, by the way. Oh, me, I'm an Investec girl. No. Me, I'm an R&B girl. No. Don't be married. Don't be married. Capitec has got rates ezinhle nayo khona manje. Old Mutual has got a bank. Yeah, so you can ask around. And how we do it, power team again, guys. There's something called a bond originator. You say, I want to refinance this house. I'll apply. You fill in one form. They apply to the big four, plus Old Mutual, plus Capitec, plus. And then they come back and they're like, for 800,000, we give you this interest rate. You sign bond papers. Now you have a mortgage. Now you've accessed equity. And you can access the whole equity or part of the 1 million. Have I made it easy? It's simple, ne? Nasendlini yenu, you would be sitting in that house. You've been married for how long? 13 years. 30 years. So you are sitting in this house and you own it, and you have paid it, gusele 200,000. When they evaluate it, or you can go to Lightstone yourself and look at it. How? We bought it at 700,000. It's now 1.5 million. You can refinance whatever is in there. That's how you access equity. So you sign a mortgage paper. Location.
So yeah, I think that's why we spent the amount of time saying that you need to understand the location and understand the dynamics. To say, if you're gonna go for like an area A, for example, what are the pros and cons for that? So it's definitely an area that's in the up and up. It's doing well. You know, you're gonna get good tenants and an end, but you're gonna struggle with cash flow. So that is why it's important that you start there. So maybe look at what is your strategy, right? And which area is going to work for that strategy. And also remember, even in other areas, you can always negotiate and look and look, be on Property 24, set up alerts, speak to the agents that operate in the area, you know, find a way that you can, and sometimes you won't find your deal the first time. I think we did mention that you might have to look at 100 deals before you find the one. So it might take you some time. It's not going to happen that you go on to Property 24 tomorrow, you find the deal of your dreams. It's not going to happen. I think what Miranda was saying around, sometimes it might not even be in the area where you live. It might be in an area outside of that. Like, for example, I didn't even know where Potchefstroom was, and that is where I found,
How?
really...
You didn't know?
I knew it was in Northwest, but I'd never been there. You know, I'd never been there. And then we bought a student accommodation for Sakisizwe in the area. Then I got to understand the area. If I can tell you that we bought a student accommodation for 1.5 million rand, it accommodates 35 students. It makes 1.5 million a year. We got it for 1.4. So sometimes the deals are not
Where you
you
live.
are.
Please. So let's talk about that just for people who are not in the mentorship. We say you're going to find 100 properties. You're probably going to view 30, maybe 10. You're going to offer on 3 and eventually buy 1. Patience. Take a breath. Also, now you know. Now you want to
Yeah.
buy. Now you know. I know it because I'm impatient. So now you just sit back. Peter there has got a property ibizwang agency. Peter Realtors. Ngithuma Peter, thuma somebody. Me, I sit at work. Me, I've got a corporate job. Yo, guys, 12 hours at work.
Yeah.
Literally. On Sundays. I'm here. Give more laptop. There's no way I'm going to look for a property. So, calm down. Thuma somebody. Thuma somebody.